We're recording, Michael.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Welcome to Sprint 3 review for our spring work cycle. This is the last sprint in that work cycle, and we've concluded it with a bunch of fun accomplishments to share. So really, the goals for that sprint continue from Sprint 2, which is really discovery integration and to deliver that connected system and really unblocking production data migrations. And the themes that we're going to be talking about today, not surprisingly, are really discovery integration. We're going to talk through a little bit of sort of some Arc-based URL things that we've done, extending search API support there. A lot of discovery development happened behind the scenes and definitely up front in the sprint. Interim solutions for controlled values, really making sure those are working between Comet and our front-end Golden Gate, and really making sure that ingest improvements and reliability for Comet are continuing. And we did that through modeling production scale ingests and a lot of the fixes that needed to support that. So let's get right into this. Why don't we have David talk a little bit about the discovery integration that happened?
Yeah, so we had a fair bit of work that we'd done in the previous sprint around ARC identifiers and filtering on keywords and that kind of thing, and we wrapped that up. And Lisa and David T will tell you about the front end work to support that. Um, we started working on extending the search API to support complex dates. And date ranges, and that work will probably will continue. And not exactly a Surfliner accomplishment, but we did start our production rollout of Golden Gate here at UC Santa Barbara. It's not completely officially live yet. We want to do some infrastructure work, getting a bot protection in place and that kind of thing. But we did get all of our production content into like migrated content into Comet and all of that published to Golden Gate with a few hiccups, which we have now ironed out. But it was good to test the system with that volume of data, particularly not just large numbers of objects, but large numbers of files per object, and also some very large complex objects. So we definitely discovered some issues in the course of doing that, but now we've rectified those, and we feel like we're in a much better state going forward there with publishing. So, yeah.
That's an
Uh,
excellent reminder, David. I think that's a huge accomplishment, huge milestone. That's awesome. All right, well, let's maybe hear from Elisa and David T on some discovery development.
Yeah, I could get us kicked off. So we really worked hard into putting work into production readiness. This included improving some functionalities on existing components as well as hooking up functionality where it didn't quite exist yet. So that led to our search bar getting updates with some drop-down sort of keyword specification search or scoping search. And we also did some work on our download component, allowing for visibility to run off of a copyright status so that those protected works wouldn't provide a download link. There was also work done in the object for the metadata, allowing for a more expanded view of the available metadata to show to the user. And then there were just a myriad of little upgrades in the footer copyright, in the copy, in some of the navigation work. So like little things here and there were captured and fixed or improved and identified as being needed. And so we just continually work to improve that end site for our users. And that's it from my side. David T, is there anything you wanted to add on your side?
From the UCSD side, yeah. I mean, like the big update that we made this round was adding functional object and collection views. So like, excuse me one second. So now we have two distinct object and collection views that work and display differently. And I also took the time to add mobile views mainly to the home page and the object page, but also checked the rest of the site to make sure everything was functioning correctly there. I added in some new breadcrumb navigation. We didn't have that before. And basically also, yeah, I cleaned up the design and presentation a lot because we also had like a local demo that we were trying to hit. We hit a pilot level and just got all that stuff ready. Yeah, that's all I have.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I think in this next section, Margaret's going to talk to us about our interim solution for controlled values.
Yeah, there was a lot of work. I think this was kind of a running theme for the whole work cycle. There were like 8 or 9 tickets, I think, associated with this that needed to get done before we could actually turn it on. There was reading the values from the TSV. There was converting labels into values. There was converting values back into labels so that it doesn't break our geospatial platforms, which expect labels and not the URIs. And then there was the user interface piece, both in the object view page and the object edit page. So I think in the first sprint, Vivian did some work on a lot of these things. And then in the second sprint, Longshu also did some work on a lot of these things. And then finally in this last sprint, we got all of the pieces together. So we finally turned it on in UCSB and it seems to be working fine. Like David said, we've put a bunch of stuff into Comet. We've pushed it all to Golden Gate. The labels are showing up. Everything seems to be working. But it was a big accomplishment and something that we were really working on for the entire work cycle that you can kind of just now see because we were finally able to flip the switch and actually import the TSV. I have a bit of a demo if you want to give me the screen. And I will attempt to show what that looks like now. Most of the work that we do with this happens through bulk racks, but I'm going to do one just through the user interface if I can get Zoom to cooperate and actually create click the buttons. So this looks a little nicer than editing a CSV, so I'm going to do this and you can see what it all looks like. So I'm going to go into additional fields here and you'll see that we have these fancy little drop downs now. I can type, it does an autocomplete. I can go ahead and click something. You'll see that it gives you the label at the top and it gives you the URI at the bottom, so you can see both of them. If you click remove, it'll remove it. You can add more. And then I'll go ahead and click save. And then when you click save, you can see that it all shows up there. So that's the functionality that we have now. There's some improvements that have been noted that we may want to talk about in terms of like how this search works and things like that. But just getting to this state was really exciting, and now we have it turned on, and we have a huge amount of authority in our TSV right now at UCSB, and it all seems to be working. So that's exciting, and that's what I have to share.
Thanks, Margaret. All right, if we get back to our demo here, now I think we're going to talk a little bit about Comet and a lot of sort of ingest improvements and reliability and even some other things there.
Yeah, we have my name on this, but I think actually it might make more sense for some of the UCSD folks to talk about the ingest improvements because I think that was mostly on your side. Um, uh,
Sure. I can talk a little bit about what we were running into, David. How about with the thumbnails and the sort of derivatives in the background jobs? And then we can kind of maybe back into zooming out in the strategy for using triple I for those, or you could pick up.
Sounds good.
So what we were noticing is during heavy ingest, where we were supplying two file use types, the background jobs which are fired off sort of asynchronous in our implementation, some of them were failing and causing some issues in which we had to sort of go back and either do a reindex or try and troubleshoot why some thumbnails were or were not getting created, which, using our default interfaces like Sidekick, that sort of proved to be not a reliable way to sort of gauge whether things were actually getting in or not. Since what we noticed and finally concluded was that Sidekick failed jobs are not necessarily a good signal for that. And so I think what we decided to do is sort of back out and say, do we want these things created within Comet or maybe in a different way? And that's where we arrived at sort of using triple F for thumbnails. David, you want to maybe just share a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
So something we've been thinking about for a while. Comet out of the box based on the hierarchs, which is the the open source platform that it's built on has the ability to create thumbnail images for uploaded images. Smaller thumbnail versions of uploaded images, but they're really quite small by modern standards, and it's it's an extra hiccup in the production process. And we decided months and months ago that we were not going to be using these on the discovery side. That on the discovery side, we know we're using IIIF, which lets us scale images to whatever size we want. So we would just ask the IIIF server for an appropriately resized image if we needed a thumbnail. Um, so after going around a bit on this problem with the ingest background jobs in Comet, and kind of trying to patch various problems that we were running into, with particularly with like bookkeeping around if you have multiple files per file set, which of those should really be the one that you use for the thumbnail. Um, uh, we decided that it would be easier to just go ahead and use IIIF for thumbnails in Comet the same way we were doing for Discovery. There are a few wrinkles for that, especially around collection thumbnails, because often you'll want to uh, provide a thumbnail for a collection that's not actually from an object in the collection. Maybe you have a collection of data sets, but you want an image that is um, a logo for a project, or it's um, a picture of the place where the data was collected, or something else that you want to use to represent that collection. Um, that's not 100% supported yet, so that's going to be some follow-on work. And we also know that we have uh, a long-standing issue with the IIIF viewer not displaying um, content that's not public, which is great for discovery when we don't want patrons to be able to see those images yet, but it's not so great for Comet users. So that is uh, near the top of our priority list for the next work cycle. We'll be sorting that out. But it did mean a lot fewer background jobs and a lot fewer chances for background jobs to go wrong. So now the main thing in terms of background jobs that we're doing is the file characterization, analyzing files to collect technical metadata. We do have one derivative file that we're still generating in Comet, which is extracted text. Because that's highly valuable, and it's not something that we're going to magically get from IIIF or some other way. Um, and we definitely intend in the future to support a richer set of derivative generation, like we've talked about how for AV we may need to have a process for uploading full resolution video and then generating viewing quality copies or generating transcripts or so on and so forth. But I think we'll probably have to do some architectural replumbing around how background jobs work before we can tackle those things in a way that will be reliable and performant. So this gets us to a much better place, I think, with the content that we have now. And yeah. Um, Otherwise, other work that we've been doing in Comet, we're now when we register ARCs, when we have EasyID mint ARCs for us, we're now including appropriate metadata with that request so that they can be looked up in the EasyID UI, and we can easily double check that the right things go with the right things. Um, we now have links from Comet to Golden Gate so you can see you can hop from the Comet page to your object where you've published it in Discovery, so it's easier to check how that works. Um, and uh, yeah, and then there were some glitches around extracted text and some edge cases that we're still working on, but the basic functionality is there. So I think that's it for Comet.
Thanks, David. All right, then our what's next, we're going to be heading into our summer work cycle planning. And so we wanted to share a little bit of some of the themes that we might see in there, though this isn't necessarily all of that. So we've got continuing, not surprisingly, we've got discovery integration, discovery development, and core Comet work. Really sort of on the discovery side, really sort of API improvements, visibility flags. We've got some more search improvements. So sort of the search filter, date range, and sorting support. We've also got on the development, we really want to hone in and clarify and define the expected behavior for component and complex objects as they're published in Discovery. We've also got like the continuing parallel work there on refining complex object displays and continuing the production readiness. On the Comet side, we already talked a little bit about making sure we're going to continue the non-public IIIF images bug that we're going to squash there, and improving some search behavior and reliability. And also, I think the corresponding publishing behavior refinements, just making sure that the publishing status between Comet and Golden Gate are sort of synced between published and unpublished events. And also, we've also been talking about DOI support. Like I said, I'm sure that that's not all, but that is a pretty decent foreshadowing of some of the topics that we'll be coming up and discussing as a team in the next week or so. So I think that concludes our review for today. Thanks everyone, a really amazing effort. And I think the connected system is indeed coming together. And congrats again to Santa Barbara on that major milestone, getting a lot of that production readiness totally dialed in.
Thank you.
I know that was not easy, and you handled some really, really hairy snags under quite gracefully, I should say. So really, it's pretty awesome. We're cheering you on in the background here.
Thanks. Yeah, no, the team really did a great job coming together on that stuff. It's and I think, you know, last week was pretty stressful, but I think we're in a pretty good place this week.
Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to just pause just for one moment and ask if there are any questions from folks. All right, and we can stop the recording and then ask the same.